All right, man. Sounds good. All right,
All right,
guys.
thanks.
I'm just going to go through, the basics of how the tool works. I know that as we go through it, you're probably going to have questions. If you do, that's fine. You can interrupt me. We'll go through the questions. That's okay. If you want to wait till the end, I'll leave some time at the end as well to go through different questions. So either one of those is fine with me. It doesn't really make a difference. Um, we also have a full support channel. By the time this is done, I'm going to give you guys the email address, and you'll see a couple different things. There's an email that's automatically going to be sent to you each time you do a statement analysis. That email is going to come from support@getisoamp.com. So you can always respond directly back to that. We try to clear that out at the end of every day. Just depends on, what the day looks like or what the question might be. Sometimes we might get back to it the day after, but for the most part, we clear that out every single day. So if you guys send me an email to my personal email, I usually don't care. It doesn't matter. But depending on what my week looks like, it might be a couple days till I get back to you. So if it's something that's pressing or something that's important, send it to support@getisoamp.com and they'll be able to get to you a lot quicker. With all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen. I'm going to show you guys how this works. You're going to have your own portal set up. Your admins have decided what is going to be in there. So, if you guys have questions about, oh, I want X, Y, and Z in there, you're going to have to talk to your admins about it. We can't make any changes to that once we set it up for them. We could do it, but we have to have their approval. So unless an admin reaches out to us, we can't invite you to a portal without their permission. We can't add additional pricing programs or anything like that without the admin's permission as well. So you guys are going to have to work through with your management team and, figure out your own internal process there. But I'm going to go ahead and just share this and we'll dive right into it. So this is one of our test portals. So you guys are going to see this. You're going to have one branded for Pay Compass. It's going to have all your information in there. Each person's going to get their invite. Mainly what you guys are going to be looking at is this quote and this prospects tab. So to upload a statement or to do a statement analysis of any sort, you would go to the quote tab. You'll see 3 videos right here. The first one is what you can do if you have multiple statements for the same merchant. So let's say you have multiple locations, maybe multiple months, you need to analyze all of those things. You can put those in at the same exact time. You would just drag and drop those files into this box. If you have multiple statements for different merchants, you can put those in at the same time. Or if you have a third-party Amex or maybe one of those WorldPay statements where it has that additional, position summary with the interchange table on it or something like that, you can combine statements as well. So there's different videos to show you how to do each of those things. Before I do like a deep dive of the AI side of things and what our real bread and butter is, I'm going to show you guys this because I know Justin had emailed me to make sure this is covered on the call as well. So you guys actually will have the ability to click on this little blue link where you can manually create something. So this is really good if you're on the phone with somebody and you don't have a statement. Maybe you get one of those little one-page square summary reports that just tells you total volume and total fees. So when you click on this, it's going to ask what the industry is. Whether it's going to be, let's say it's a restaurant and maybe it's quick service. We can plug in the name of the merchant, total volume, total fees. It's going to give you an average ticket size that we based off of data when we built this. You can go in here and change this if you want to. If you know the number of transactions, so let's say it's 25,000, maybe they're paying 600 in fees, and maybe they're doing, 139 transactions. Well, it's automatically going to give you the average ticket size right there. And then it grades it out because you know the transactions and the amount of volume. If you leave it blank, you can go in here, you could say maybe it's $45 as the average ticket size, whatever it's going to be. You can do whatever you want there. So that's one way to do it. You can hit create and it'll put everything as far as the fees go into one miscellaneous fee for $600. Or you could go into advanced mode. When you go in here, you actually can name it up top, plug the amount of fees in here. So let's say, they're paying $1,000 in fees and you know that maybe they're doing $25,000 in Visa. Maybe they're doing that in 500 transactions. MasterCard, maybe they're doing 25,000 there in another 500 transactions. Maybe they don't do any Discover. Maybe they're doing 10,000 in Amex and they're doing that in 250 transactions. And maybe they're doing 1,200 in PIN debit and they're doing that in like 20 transactions. So now what you're going to have is you're going to have a side-by-side that gets built out. So down here under this statement fees, you're going to see that everything is considered just a miscellaneous fee of $1,000. Well, you could go in and you could put in a VMD per item, and maybe they're paying 10 cents. what it's going to do is it's going to calculate the total amount of transactions for Visa, MasterCard, and Discover. So you can see here it's 1,000 transactions at 10 cents, and it makes it a $100 fee. We can click add, and now we have something that's actually itemized. Then it leaves the 900 in a miscellaneous fee. So maybe there's a VMD volume fee. Maybe it's, on Square, so they're at 2.6 or something like that. Now you can see this number doesn't match. So if we go to add this, it's going to give us an error. So we're actually going to have to go up here and change it to, let's say, 1,500 in fees, right? And now when we have that, we can add this in. And now you can see there's $100 left. Maybe that's going to be like a monthly fee, and it's going to be, equipment rental fee. So just like that, we can say it's one fee. Maybe it's $100 is what they're paying for it. And we can add that together. So now you can see everything's zeroed out. And if we go ahead and create the proposal just like this, it's going to be a perfect proposal for if they were on Square, right? You're going to see exactly what's going on with it. You'll be able to select your own pricing structure and do everything from there. So with this part of the tool, this manual proposal, you could make 1,000 of these a month per person. It doesn't matter. There's no cost associated with any of this. This is something that just lives inside of the actual tool that we analyze statements with. Now, if you have a merchant statement, you can drag and drop it right into this box here. Once it's uploaded, all you have to do is name it. You don't have to fill out anything else. You can if you want to. Really, when it comes to the MCC code, the only time this really has a big impact is if this statement's like a flat rate or a tiered statement, something like that, and you're going to put it on Interchange Plus. I'll show you guys how we make the assumptions on what the interchange fees are going to be here in a minute, but this does have an impact on it. So if you select a certain category, we use that category as part of our algorithm to determine what the interchange is going to look like when we don't know what it actually is. You don't have to worry about zip code or margin adjustment type. You can just then hit submit. Once you do this, one of two things happens. It either gets fully automated like this one, so it's done in like 3 seconds, or it's going to go to our human team for review. So there's a couple things to note here. The biggest driver as to whether or not it's automatically finished by the computer itself, or if it gets sent to a human review, is going to be the quality of scan. So we analyze anything that you guys have as long as it's a merchant statement. If you have a PDF, native PDF, clean scan, it's usually going to be, if not fully automated, the bulk of it is going to be able to be automated. So if it goes for human review, it might take 30 seconds, might take a minute, might take a minute and a half, something like that. It's usually going to be a lot faster because the AI can do a lot of the heavy lifting on there. Now, if you have, let's say, a 100-page statement, you took pictures of every page, converted them to a PDF and uploaded them, we will get that done, but that's going to take a lot longer because anytime you take a photo of it, there's usually a weird light source, there's a wrinkle in the page, whatever it is, that stuff will drastically throw off the AI. So when that happens, instead of us spitting back whatever you get, we send it to a human team for review and we let them take a look at it. When they're taking a look at it, it all depends on how much data entry there's going to be, how many things are, flagged in the system. There's a few different determiners on how long it's going to take. Most of the time with human review, it's going to be about 2 to 5 minutes. Sometimes it'll take 8, sometimes it takes 10. Most of the time, we're going to have it done under 15 minutes. I think the last time I looked at the reports in the past 6 months, it was like 99.6% or something like that was done within a half an hour. So that includes hundreds and hundreds of ISOs that we service and thousands of agents that are uploading statements every single day. We're doing about 500 statements a day as is. So, that's a pretty big number to say almost all of those have been turned around in under a half an hour. So we're usually pretty quick with that. But, just because it goes for human review doesn't mean that you did something wrong. It doesn't mean that the tool's broken. It just means there could be one fee that doesn't match perfectly, and we're going to send that to a human for review because accuracy is our most important thing. We can send something back. We could probably fully automate, I would say 99% of what we get, but you're going to get, 40% of that's going to be garbage, and that's not worth it to us. So right now we're about 55 to 60% automation is pretty much where we're at for fully automated statements. The other ones are going to go to the human for review. Once it's done, you can click the view proposal button. That's going to take you straight to the prospect that you uploaded the statement for, or you'll get an email that lets you know it's been completed, which is where you can reply and go directly to support if you want to, or you can just click into your prospects tab. So in here, you're going to see all the merchants that you submit statements for. If you have, 5 statements for one merchant and you uploaded it correctly, it should be all 5 of those statements are contained within this prospect. You shouldn't see 5 different statements. Now, I would say 1 out of every 1,000, sometimes it'll glitch and it'll break them into separate prospects. If that happens, just shoot us an email and we combine them on the back end for you. Takes us about 10 seconds. It's not a big deal. When you're going through this, a couple of things for you guys to know. You're not going to see anything that isn't your own unless you're an admin on here. So your admins will be able to see everything. So if you need help on something, you can always ask someone. They'll be able to go in and take a look at it. When you're looking at this, you're going to see your own statements. The good thing is you're not going to be able to go in and, accidentally change numbers on someone else's statement. They're not going to be able to do that to yours. So once you click in here, you're going to have some information that you can update should you want to. I'm sure that you guys already have a CRM and some different things in place to be able to track your deals. But if you want to change their contact name, phone number, contact email, you have the ability to do that. What stage of the deal are they in? I would say that probably most people don't use this, but it does exist if you need it. If you guys wanted to make some changes to, let's say, your proposal name and contact info, you would do that right here in this edit button. So down here at the bottom, you can choose what proposal information. So if you want your name displayed differently, you have a different phone number or a different email that you want for work-related stuff, you can plug all this information in here. That's really what that's going to be for. If you upload the wrong MCC code and it's a flat rate statement, you can go in here and you can change it and that'll update whenever you look at the prospect. Once you click on the one you want to look at, the first screen it's going to take you to is going to be this one here. So this is where you're going to choose what pricing structure you want to give to the merchant. This isn't about what kind of statement it is or anything like that. I've already worked with your admins, and I was working with Jeannie yesterday on, how to build these things out properly for you guys. So it's all set up and ready to go as far as that goes. Once you choose the one you're going to look at, so we'll go ahead and choose this Interchange Plus one. You're going to see up top your current fees and effective rate. So that's what they're paying now. Proposed fees and effective rate. So what you guys are offering. Monthly savings, residual and margin. Now, these can be turned on or off, depends on what your admins decide to do. Big thing for you guys to all remember, if these are turned on, these are approximate, right? So you don't have to email Justin next month and say, hey, this said I was going to get this and I didn't get it. This is based on the statement that you put in front of the system. So what that could mean is next month, maybe they do totally different card types. Maybe next month they do a lot more volume or a lot less volume. All of those things can impact what this margin and residual would look like, right? So just keep that in mind. This is a really great indicator for the statement that's in front of you, but is subject to change as time goes on. Under your processor fees, this is where we're going to represent everything for you that's a monthly recurring fee. So big thing to note, I get this email in support on a pretty regular basis. Hey, the statement says there's this much in fees and this is how much your system is showing. When you scroll down a little bit in between pass-through and merchant activity, there becomes a category of annual and one-time fees. If annual and one-time fees are on the statement, we represent them in their own box and it'll say right on it, annual and one-time fees. But up here in the monthly recurring fees, it's not going to be listed because they're only paying it once a month. It just happens to be there. When we break down the monthly fees, there's 2 categories that we do. So we have a current rate side and a proposed rate side. Obviously, your current rate is what they're currently doing. So when you're looking at these numbers, anytime you have a question on these, one of the biggest things I always tell everyone is to go into these details tabs. These are going to break down the number. So if we look at our VMD per item and we want to know why is it 9.84 cents, no one writes a deal at that. We click on details and you're going to be able to see more into it. So you'll see there's a 4-cent auth fee. There's a 5-cent gateway fee. Now, we could build this tool so that it just says 9 cents and that's what you get here. The problem is there's so many situations where you're not going to have a quantity, you're not going to have a rate, but it is a per item fee and they're charging just a blank amount, $7.82 or something like that. So what we do is we take the total that was charged into the amount of transactions from the statement, and we can tell you exactly what that per item fee should be. So there are going to be times where you guys are going to see something on the statement and say, this isn't accurate. Well, when you go into this details tabs, you're going to see exactly where those numbers come from. And you can look at the statement and compare, what we found here to what's on the actual statement. There's a lot of times where people don't realize that, something might be categorized as a per item fee, but we do this every single day, right? So our analysts, all they do is sit in a room and crunch numbers. Couldn't be me, but that's what they do, right? And they love it. So They're super good with what they do. That doesn't mean we're perfect. If you guys think we made a mistake, please email support. Let us take a look at it. If we did make a mistake, we'll be the ones that fix it. It's not your responsibility to do that. It's ours. So when you're looking at this, that's how we get all of these fees in the current rate side. We go through, we take the total amount, divide it by, whatever it's going to be, and that's how we get our specific numbers. So a big thing for you guys to take a look at, because you are going to see this from time to time, and possibly more often than you think you will. On this current rate side, there's nothing listed for Visa, MasterCard, and Discover, and there's nothing listed for Amex on the volume fees. Usually, when you see this, if you scroll down and you look at the pass-through fees, and you're going to see interchange amounts, that means this is the interchange, this is the plus, right? When there's no plus here and here, they could be getting a great deal, but more often than not, what you're going to find is that there's a padded interchange. And I'll show you guys how to detect that here in 1 second. Real quick, I'll touch on how to make changes to the proposed rates while we're in this box. But you can use this savings slider. It's available on the flat rate programs and as well as the Interchange Plus programs. Once you leave those two and you start going to like dual pricing and that kind of stuff, there's no savings slider, but you can move this around. You can see as I move it, it updates the proposed fees and effective rate, savings for the merchant, residual and margin. But the biggest thing that it does is it updates all of these proposed rates to match whatever the savings goal is here. So this is great to ballpark something quickly. It's not perfect because numbers can stretch a few different ways. So it'll bounce a couple dollars either way, but you can use this to get a really good idea where to start your pricing. The other thing you could do is just go in here and punch different numbers in line by line. So if you want to play around with different numbers, you can change these as many times as you want to. So it doesn't matter how many times you go in here and punch these numbers around, it's going to update the proposed fees and effective rate, savings, residual and margin, and it's also going to move your savings slider to where it's going to be with the savings. So you guys can go in there and play with that while you're looking at things. Another big question that I get a lot while we're looking at this, what does the green and the black have to do with anything? It's just to point out to you, the merchant will never see it, but it's going to point out to you where you're saving them money or where they're saving money on the current side. That's all that it means. So for an example, we look at 9.84 cents on the current side, charge $6.30 total. Technically speaking, we're charging them less here, but that's because I haven't refreshed the page. So if I refresh this, let me just refresh this real quick. You'll see now it's back to black and it's green on the other side. So just so you guys are aware of that, it really means nothing for the merchant. It's more just for you to see. But when you're looking at these pass-through fees, there's a couple things that you guys are going to note. So earlier when I touched on the Amex volume and the VMD volume being empty up here, we can look at the proposed total and the current total and see there's a pretty big difference here. So when you're looking at these numbers, if the statement has enough interchange details that we can go in and we can take a look at all the different card types that they've taken, we can tell you exactly what the proposed interchange total is going to be. We update our system twice a year. So every time the new rates come out, we have a team of people that go in, they plug all the brand new rates directly into the system. Once we plug those rates in, we save them for the current statements that we're getting. We also save the previous interchange tables and backlog it. So if you put a statement in from a year ago today, then it's going to use a year ago today's interchange tables when it does the comparison. The reason we do that is because that is the only accurate way to determine if there's padding in the interchange and if there's going to be optimization that's available. So when you look at this number, it should be the same as this number. Interchange is a pass-through cost. So no matter who the processor is, technically speaking, it should be the same. We all know that that's not how it works. So when we see this difference and we want to know where it comes from, we can go to details. You're going to see there's $659 worth of markup in the interchange, and there's optimization available of $348.64. So this $659 of markup is what should be listed here and here, but it's not. And potentially additional per item fees as well. So we see that from time to time. When you see this and these two numbers don't match, you can almost always bet that there's going to be some interchange padding. That's just a quick overview of it. If you scroll down to where it says interchange analysis and you hit show, this is where you're actually going to be able to break it down. So you're going to say, here's our card type. Here's the volume and transactions. This top number is what the merchant's paying, and this is how much it costs. The bottom number is the true cost of interchange for the card type that's listed and how much it should have been. So anytime that you guys are looking at this and you see a discrepancy, you're going to have it highlighted in yellow. So if you want to know if an interchange is padded, you can go right here. You can scroll through. If it's in yellow, there's some padding going on there. So one of the big things that I get questions on a ton is, how do you do it if, let's say, there's no percentages listed? The only thing that we need to know is the card type, the amount of transactions, and the total. If we have that, we can backlog the math and figure out, okay, well, this is what it's supposed to be. So that means this is what it's going to be charged normally. This is what they're charging to get this number. So if this stuff isn't listed, that's okay. As long as we have the total and the card type and the amount of transactions, then we're going to know exactly whether or not the interchange is padded. Under optimization, we go through each card type the same way. So again, these two things are only going to be available on a statement that has the interchange details available. So for an example, like a flat rate statement, we have no idea. And I'll show you what we do in that scenario as well. But when you're looking at this for optimization, it's going to tell you, here's the card type. It normally will settle out at 265 and 10 cents for 83.22. It'll qualify for X, Y, and Z rate at 19 and 10 cents for 59.75. Now, one thing that people ask a lot about is these different buttons that say add. So when we built this optimization profile, we partnered initially with Paytrace to do it. So anyone that's using like Paytrace, NMI, things like that for their gateway, it's going to be pretty much exactly the same. If you guys have a different gateway that you're using and it has different optimization availability, then you guys can always put that into an Excel sheet, send it over to us, and we can actually custom map this for you. But for the most part, almost every one of our clients is good with the ones that we're using. But what these do, these ones that say add, these are card types that don't qualify for optimization. So if they're not qualifying for, the companies that we've used to build this out with, they probably won't qualify for most companies, if any, right? So when you see the remove button, that means that card type qualifies for optimization. Now, when you would use this, let's say, whatever business you're dealing with, they can get level 2 optimization, but they can't get level 3. Okay, great. We can look down here and say, okay, this is going to be a level 3 rate. We're going to go ahead and remove this. Now, instead of it being, 348 or whatever it was, it's 314. So it drops that rate out of it and you don't have to worry about it. On this finish tab, you guys are going to have the ability to remove optimization entirely. So if your merchant's not going to go for it, you're not going to be able to optimize it, whatever the situation is, you can go in here and you can remove the optimization. When you do that, it removes it out of the monthly savings. So if you guys are quoting someone with optimization in the savings and maybe there's $500 in it and you don't remove it, you're going to show them, hey, we're going to save you X amount. Then when it shakes out, it might cost them $11.57. You can go right back into this same screen and you can reapply it should you decide you are going to optimize their payments, right? And now you can see instead of a -11, it's 303.02. So that's pretty much, the deep dive of the interchange that we do. Now, let's go ahead and theorize that maybe the statement that we received is a flat rate statement or it's a tiered statement, something like that. And we have no idea what the interchange is going to be. And you want to put them on interchange plus. You can 100% do that. People do it every single day in our system. The big thing is we're going to make estimates on the things that we don't have accurate numbers on. And those things are going to be in the pass-through fees. So the interchange, op blue, card brand fees, we can make estimates on those. Usually the op blue and the card brand fees we're pretty confident in. The biggest driver that changes is going to be the VMD interchange because it's usually the most, it's going to be most of the transactions on a statement, right? So when we're doing this, we have pretty good ideas of what this should look like. When we make an estimate, you're going to see the word estimate beside anything that we estimate. So for an example, we might have a statement that comes in where we can pull the card brand fees and maybe we can even pull the op blue cost off of the statement directly, but the interchange cost isn't there. In that scenario, it's going to say estimate right beside the interchange, but then these two won't. Now, when we make that estimate, aside from MCC code, the biggest things that we use live in this menu button under the assumptions tab. So we say how much of this merchant is going to be signature debit, how much of the signature debit is going to be regulated signature debit, how much of the merchant overall is going to be B2B, and how much is going to be card not present. Right now, the way this is laid out on the screen, you guys can see that these are in parentheses. The reason they're in parentheses, that means that we pulled it directly from the statement, so you can't make any changes to it. We know for a fact that 12.1% of this merchant's signature debit, 100% of that 12% is regulated. We know 45% of the merchant is B2B and 31% is card not present. Now, if it's a flat rate statement, if it's a tiered statement, something like that, these numbers aren't going to be in parentheses. They're going to be in boxes. When we put these numbers in boxes, that means you can go in and change them. There are times where we can pull the exact amount of signature debit or maybe the exact amount of card not present, but we can't pull any of the other things. When they're in boxes, you go in, change the number to what you believe it would be. And you guys are going to know more about the merchant than we do. You're going to be in direct communication with them. If you have a great relationship with them, maybe you can ask them, like, how much do you guys do in online sales or something like that, and kind of figure it out from there. You can change the number. There's a button that says save. And when you save it down here, it's going to completely update whatever this interchange estimate would be. So you guys do have the ability to drive it up or down based on what you know about the merchant. At this point, we've kind of looked at everything. We've priced everything out. Now we're ready to send something over to them. So I'm going to go over everything that you need to finish this up lives in the menu button. I'm going to go over each one of these things. So when we're looking at change program, this is what you would select. Let's say, they said absolutely not to interchange plus and they want to just do dual pricing. Okay, you can just change it and choose dual pricing. Change template is going to be how you choose the different view that they're going to see. So we give you a couple different views. I'll show you guys those at the end. PDF is going to generate an actual PDF that you can either, print out and take to them, email over to them, whatever you want to do. The Excel workbook. So just so everyone knows, the Excel workbook is the bane of my existence doing this. This is something that I get emails about constantly because people will save this and try to send it to merchants and they'll open it and everything's screwed up. This is something that is used specifically for someone to just work through, right? This is for people that don't want to work within the system. So you can go in and you can make pricing changes just like you can right here throughout this. When you save it, it might be great for you to work through, but this is not something that you send over to the merchant. If you send this over to the merchant, when they open it, it's going to be all jacked up. So don't do it. Use it to work through if you really want to use Excel. Personally, I would just say you're going to have to copy the rates in here anyways. You might as well just do it in here. Merchant view just gives you a quick look at what the merchant's going to see. Renaming your proposal will change the name up here. Cloning it. Now, this is one that you guys will probably use on a regular basis. So right now we have an Interchange Plus program. Maybe we really like where it's priced at. We don't want to screw anything up. We can clone this. We can go into change program. Maybe we're going to select, I don't know, a surcharge program or something like that. Now we have two different proposals that we can send to the merchant. So you guys will use that cloning feature. You can see I have Interchange Plus, I have dual pricing, and I have a surcharging one. So now I have multiple different options I can send over to that merchant. Send, you can send it directly from the system. I usually don't advise this because it's going to come from, no reply at getisoamp.com. It's not a good look. So you don't use it, but you can if you really need to. We went over the assumptions button. Edit statements, something that honestly I'm not going to dive into because it's too easy to screw something up. I don't even want to show it to you guys. Maybe your admins can take a look at it and figure it out. But essentially, that's going to take you to the back end of the statement analysis, and it's pretty easy to make mistakes in there. So don't use that if you don't need to. But that's pretty much the nuts and bolts of it. When we look at these templates, each one's going to have their own use case. So your side by side, your basic, your detailed, and detail with cash discounting. These are going to be exactly the same. There's one difference on a box. I'll show you guys that here in a second. Side by side, this is what you're going to use apples to apples. So if they're on Interchange Plus, you're going to keep them there. You're going to save them some money. It's going to have your company logo, whoever signed in's information, the name of the merchant. It's going to show the savings for the month, annually, and then in 3 years what they're going to save. Breaks down the current rates and proposed rates side by side. Has the overall percentage savings, monthly, annual, and 3-year savings. Then it shows your current effective rate versus the proposed effective rate is the bottom line. Then you have your basic template. This one's just super, super simple. This is really good for people that are new. Maybe they don't want to speak too much about different fees and things like that. Maybe you guys are just doing dual pricing. It doesn't make a difference. You're going to just, send them whatever. So this has the savings up top, total fees they're going to pay and proposed effective rate, existing fees they're paying now and what their existing effective rate is, merchant activity, processing, and pass-through fees. Another time that people really like to use this one is, let's say they're on a flat rate, you're going to put them on Interchange Plus, even though you're going to overall maybe save them some money. you don't want to show them, I'm going to save you negative $5,000 in pass-through fees, right? It's kind of a bad look. So you could just use this and that would negate all of that. You wouldn't have to worry about it. On the detailed tab, when you look at this one, this is going to be what you use if you're going to optimize payments for somebody. If you find a padded interchange, it cleans all that up so that the merchant can actually understand what they're looking at. So you have like a condensed side by side here of the current proposed pricing. Then on this third page for optimization, we're going to break down, here's your card type, volume, current rate, optimized rate, and what we're going to save you optimizing your payments. And then for interchange padding, same thing. We show here's the current cost, here's the true cost, and this is how much we're going to save you by giving you true interchange. So this just cleans it up. It's really good to highlight, especially when you're looking at like the interchange padding number. If you have a merchant that's like, oh, I've been with this processor for 10 years, and it's like, okay, cool. Well, they've taken about $700 from you every single month for 10 years. Do you want to do the math, or do you want me to do the math for you? Right. So it's just a nice thing to put in front of their face. Now, this box that's on the front page, on this one, it says the monthly, annual, and 3-year savings. And then with this one, it just says, traditionally, I'll save you this much in a year. If you do cash discounting, it's going to save you this much. So that's pretty much the nuts and bolts of it. At this point, I'll open it up for any questions if anybody has anything for me.
Yeah, I had a quick question for you. When you
Sure.
guys are estimating interchange, are you looking, is the AI stuff looking at the zip code and where I live in Scottsdale, which we have a pretty affluent area here, and interchange is quite high.
Sure.
Does it factor that in, or is it just looking at the industry averages?
So it really looks at industry averages. We've done a lot of things with like MCC codes. We've done a lot of things with zip codes. We've tried to build out different automations for those kind of things. And what we found over the years is that the 4 things in the assumptions tab are usually going to be a bigger driver than location or MCC code in general. So we never really pursued the zip code side of it much more than what we initially did, because we found that when you use those 4 assumptions that we have, that's going to be the biggest difference maker overall. So, I mean, you can plug the zip code in at the part where you upload the merchant, and it might take that into into account whenever you're doing it. But to my knowledge, we haven't done much pursuing in the actual zip code thing after we realized it didn't make as big of a change nationwide as we thought it was going to.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Hey, Rob,
Yeah.
there's a question that came in the chat. It says,
Sure.
hey, I have a bunch of data on my own account. How do I transfer it?
Okay, so for the ones that are already in your own account, there's nothing that we can really transfer with that. It's not going to be able to go from place to place like that. But what we can do is, even if you want to cancel that account, like if you have your own personal account and you want to cancel it, we can get that canceled for you. That's no big deal. What we'll do, the easiest way to go about it, is we could actually remove like the tooling itself. So like the quote and the prospects tab, or at least the quote tab, and then your prospects will still all live in there. So you can still view your data. You just won't be able to upload statements through that anymore. But there's not really a way for us to combine that into this one.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody got anything else for me? I either did a good job or everyone's quiet today. I don't know which one it is.
Combination of both, man. You did an amazing job, right?
Thanks, man. Thanks. It's like I've been doing this for a while.
All right.
Is there a way to add a second page for a benefits page with, no annual fee, bullet points?
So not directly through the system, but I've seen people save this to like and open it with Adobe and add whatever they want to it. So I mean, you can definitely do that. I've seen people do it with Microsoft Word and stuff like that as well. But as far as like from the system, no. And the reason for that is because every single thing, as dumb as this might sound, every single one of these little tiny fees and totals and everything is hard coded from the system into the proposal template. So it pulls it from here and places it here. And if we were to change one piece of code, we have to rewrite the entire thing. It usually takes about a month. So it's not something that we even have the developer resources at the current moment to do. Our devs are super busy, upkeeping the system, building new parsers and roles for different statement types that are coming in every day and stuff like that. So we haven't really had the time to make any of those kind of changes, but we haven't found a simple way to do it. So As of right now, we don't do anything like that. But if you saved the PDF and uploaded it through Adobe or something like that, you could definitely make some changes or some additions to it. Actually,
What's happening?
I was gonna say I used to get in trouble all the time because I would tell people, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, we could definitely do that," and then I'd take it to the developers and they'd lose their mind on me. I was like, "Oh man, all right."
Hey, you got a question, Rob?
Chad, what's happening, buddy?
How you doing, bud?
I'm good, man. How about you?
Good, good. I had noticed in the past, it's been a little bit
Sure.
since I've had to do manual.
Yeah.
But when I've done manuals in the past, I've noticed that on some of them, for some reason, it wouldn't include American Express volume, even though we would put the numbers in. When it would do the totals, it would show Visa, MasterCard, Discover. I think it was
Sure.
Discover also. But for some reason, American Express wouldn't pop up.
When you're doing this, like the quick quote one, and you're not doing like the detailed version of it, it says total volume, and that includes Amex, debit, VMD, all in one category.
Okay.
So that's going to be why when you go into advanced mode, that's where you're going to be able to break out the Amex separately.
Okay. Cool. Thanks, dude.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. Anything else? It's still your hour. You got 20 minutes with me.
I have a, oh, sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to ask about the optimization option.
Sure.
You mentioned, like pay trace and I think it was NMI.
Yeah.
I was wondering, I haven't really taken advantage of optimization at Pay Compass. So I was just wondering what, maybe Justin or somebody can answer, what do we normally use for optimization?
Yeah, I mean, we have quite a few tools, honestly, actually, that does that. I mean, the biggest one probably is either through PayVault or through MX Merchant with the business part of it turned on, the B2B part of it turned on through MX Merchant are the two most common ways that we do it, which are can be both be done as just simple, virtual terminals, or can have card present added onto them, with card swipers, or can be done through the both of them have gateway features as well. If you're integrated into something, so but I would say those are our two most common ones, but we have multiple other choices as well.
Okay, so we would just need to choose which one of those we were going to use and then send that over to them.
Yeah, I mean, you can just utilize in this for statement analysis wise, just utilize. I mean, it's built with pay trace data in there. Pay trace data is going to be the same as any other provider's data. It's all going to be the same, so you don't need to worry about that for this purpose. But if anytime you're doing a B2B merchant, you absolutely want to turn on that interchange optimization. It's going to save the merchant the money, and even if there's a fee tied to it, which a lot of them are charging fees now, most of them are, it still is beneficial to them even if paying the fee. So for the statement analysis portion of it here, yeah, it's using pay trace data, which is going to be absolutely accurate. We don't need to worry about that part of it. But then when you come to actual implementation and hey, which one should I use? Obviously, Jeannie and team are there to help you select the right solution for whichever merchant you're working on.
So the savings are the same no matter which.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna be the same. It's gonna be the same. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think probably the biggest one that I've seen optimization of $17,000, $18,000, $25,000 a month. So when you're dealing with those B2B clients, like it's absolutely critical to activate that optimization if you're able to.
Absolutely.
Hey, Robert, what if we are uploading a statement from auto repair and we want to move them into service station, which is a different, obviously a different rate structure? How do we compensate for that?
You mean as far as like the MCC code?
Correct.
Then I would select the MCC code that you want to move them to, because that's going to be more reflective to your interchange directly. Now, here's the big thing. Our source of truth for any statement analysis that we do is the actual statement, right? That's all that we really have to go off of. So with that being said, we're going to put the interchange as the interchange that's listed on the statement if it's there. If the interchange is there and you know it's going to be a little bit less, you do have the ability, and I'll show you guys this here in a second. Let me go back and find this one that I always mess with here. So if you're in here and you're looking at this, whatever is going to be on the current side is going to transfer over to here. Now, let's say you know it's going to be less, but you're not 100% sure on what it is. You can choose a manual number. And let's say you're like, okay, we're going to save them probably $200 lowering this down. You can then move it to $1,600 and hit save. Now, if it's something where we don't have direct interchange details, so we have no real source of truth of what that's going to look like, then when you select that MCC code, that's going to affect what assumptions are automatically populated in here, right? Because it's like, okay, we know in this industry type from the data that we built this with, you know, X amount is going to be signature debit, X amount of that's usually going to be regulated, X amount is B2B, and X amount is card not present. So that's really where the MCC code drives the effect. It says, hey, look, we used probably 10,000 sample statements from all across the country whenever we built that. And it says, look, in this industry type, we see a trend. It's mostly going to be this much here, this much here, this much here, and this much here. So I would select the one that you want to move it to as the MCC code in that scenario, because if there's no interchange details, then what we're going to do is assume it's going to be the MCC code that you're putting it on. And then while there's no interchange listed on the current side, you'll have the estimated interchange for the appropriate MCC code on the proposed side.
Thank you. That makes a lot of intuitive sense. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another question came into the
Sure.
chat, and it's asking if P-Series terminals can do level 2 and 3.
Serious. I believe they can. Yeah. Almost. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, they do. Yeah, on the as long as they're connected to, well, all P series have to be connected to the gateway feature, obviously through Deja Vu, but absolutely they can.
All right, gang. Anybody got anything else for me?
All right, I'll wrap it up with a little bit of just additional insight. I mean, folks, I'm really excited about this. I know many of you are as well. I think it's a tremendous tool. Many of you have been asking about for a while. I joke around with Rob all the time saying that, you know, I got drug into this kicking and screaming because I'm one of the old school, I love analyzing statements myself kind of guys. But I recognize it's an amazing tool. It's a great solution, makes things much faster and you know, streamlined, allows you to dive into things in greater detail that you know, might take you a lot more time to figure out and dive into, and you might miss, right? So it's a great solution for us here. For those of you who want access to this, we're just asking that you message sales, and they're going to be setting up users one by one, and they actually are another part that we didn't really talk about here is they're uploading your specific Schedule A into the system so that when it pumps out your margin calculations, your residuals, it's exact for you. It's customized to you. So they have those pretty much all built out, and there's gonna be adding users as it gets requested. So if you want to be on there, send a message over to sales, and they will they'll get you added into there, and we'll do some continuing education on this, of course, as we get going. The other long-term plan with this right now, you'll be logging in with your own username and password directly into the ISOAmp tool. You'll see that it's fully you know, branded Pay Compass colors and logo and all that good stuff. The long-term goal is to create a single sign-on through Navigo. Our development team's already working on that, so that you'll just go to one place and have a single sign-in and be able to access all that in one place. So that's coming soonish as well. Never want to promise too fast, or Jason team will get me, but that will be coming soon as well. So any last questions
Quick
before
question.
we
Yeah. What?
Say that again?
Yeah. Once we send in the email about wanting the portal, how long will it take us to get access to that, to get set up? Because poor Jeannie, I had sent a statement yesterday. I needed a statement analysis done in 30 minutes. And she couldn't work her magic. I don't understand. She crazy magic yesterday.
I think it depends on how much cash you send over to Jeannie to get her set up. So the more cash you give her, probably the faster she'll set you up. Yeah, I think it'll be pretty
I
fast.
get
I mean, I think she's done a lot of work. Jeannie's done a tremendous amount of work ahead of time here, kind of getting everything
love
ready
Jeannie.
to go. So
Yeah.
they'll and Jeannie's kind of become the de facto expert on this. But bringing Angie and Chris and Rob are also working on this as well. So I think they can get you set up pretty fast.
Thank
Yep.
you.
No problem. All right. Any other looming questions, guys? All right. Well, we're excited, pumped for this. Rob, thanks a ton. I know we'll probably be doing another one of these in the near future as more things unfold and we have more questions. But
Yeah.
this is a great solution. The team's here to support you and get you all set up and ready to go. And hope everybody has a great Halloween. We'll talk soon. Have a good one.
All right, guys. Thanks for your time today. Have a great day.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thanks, Justin. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.